It looks small, insignificant, but this single bean is currently rewriting the rules of global power and driving the cost of your survival. Forget oil, forget microchips. The real battleground of the 21st century is protein, and the nations that control the flow of soybeans control the future of the global economy. Right now, a silent logistical war is raging across oceans, ports, and highways. A war where a drought in South America or a blocked canal in the Middle East can bankrupt farmers in the Midwest and cause food riots half a world away. Today, we are going inside the brutal multi-trillion-dollar machine of the soybean supply chain and why the next global crisis is already growing in the dirt. To understand this war, you first have to understand the hunger driving it. Over the last 4 decades, millions of people in Asia, particularly in China, pulled themselves out of poverty, and the first thing you buy when you have more money is meat. But to feed a massive, growing population of pigs and poultry, you need protein-rich feed. You need soy, lots of it. It takes roughly 3 to 4 kilograms of feed to produce just 1 kilogram of pork. This simple biological math created an insatiable black hole of demand. China cannot produce enough soy to feed its own animals. It must import it, over 100 million metric tons a year, and that dependency is the ultimate geopolitical weapon. To truly grasp the scale of this war, we need to look at the numbers. Let's look at the global scoreboard. When it comes to consumption, there is China, and then there is everyone else. China is the undisputed king, importing over 100 million metric tons of soybeans every single year. To put that into perspective, the European Union, the second largest importer, buys less than a fifth of that amount. But who is feeding this dragon? On the supply side, the battlefield is dominated by 2 heavyweights. In second place, the United States, producing roughly 115 million tons annually. Here, soy is a critical export pillar, generating tens of billions of dollars for the American economy. But the undisputed champion of production is Brazil, harvesting over 150 million tons a year. In Brazil, soy isn't just a crop, it is the absolute engine of the country, driving a massive chunk of its national GDP and dictating the strength of its currency. Argentina sits in third, struggling with brutal weather and economic crises, yet still fighting to crush and export millions of tons of soy meal and oil. These 3 nations control the global protein tap. And when one of them falters, the whole world pays the price. Inside the farm gate, modern agriculture is essentially science fiction. GPS-guided machinery, soil sensors, and precision drones ensure that every single seed is maximized. Farmers have mastered the art of growing the gold. But the second that grain leaves the farm, we travel back in time. The high-tech miracle crashes into a brutal analog reality: infrastructure. Geography is destiny. In the United States, a massive network of rivers and railways moves soybeans cheaply and efficiently to the Gulf of Mexico. But in Brazil, the world's largest exporter, the logistics are a completely different beast. Millions of tons are placed on the backs of diesel trucks, forced to cross thousands of kilometers of punishing roads. A sudden tropical storm doesn't just delay a driver, it traps thousands of trucks in oceans of mud. And in this war, time is literally money. A single cargo ship waiting at the port costs tens of thousands of dollars every single day. When the roads freeze or flood, the ships wait. When the ships wait, freight costs explode, and ultimately, that cost is passed directly to the global market. But before a single seed even touches the soil, there is an entirely different logistical war happening in the background. A war of chemistry. Brazil is an agricultural superpower, but much of its land, like the vast Cerrado savanna, is naturally acidic and poor in nutrients. To unlock its potential, farmers must heavily correct the soil. They need potassium, phosphorus, and nitrogen. And this creates a massive vulnerability. Brazil imports roughly 85% of its fertilizers. The ingredients of this agricultural miracle come from the other side of the planet. From potash mines in Canada, to phosphate rock in Morocco, to chemical plants in Russia and Belarus. If a geopolitical conflict erupts in Eastern Europe, or a trade embargo blocks a port in the Baltic Sea, the shockwave hits the South American farmer instantly. A delayed fertilizer ship doesn't just mean a higher cost, it means a smaller harvest. Before the soybean is even planted, its fate is tied to global diplomacy. While the physical beans are moving on trucks and ships, a shadow version of the harvest is moving at the speed of light. Welcome to the Invisible Casino, the Chicago Board of Trade. Here, the logistics are digital. Soybeans are traded as futures contracts. Traders, algorithms, and hedge funds are constantly betting on the price of a crop that hasn't even been harvested yet. This financial layer is completely detached from the mud and the asphalt, yet it dictates everything. A rumor of a drought in Argentina, a slight change in an agricultural report from the USDA, or a political tweet in Washington can cause billions of dollars to change hands in milliseconds. The farmer in the Midwest or the truck driver in Mato Grosso has zero control over this. They are simply price takers in a hyper-financialized market where the physical grain is just the underlying asset for a massive global speculation game. And now, a new, entirely different choke point is emerging. It's not physical and it's not financial, it's regulatory. The green barrier. Major buyers, especially in the European Union, are implementing strict anti-deforestation laws and ESG mandates. They demand absolute traceability. They don't just want the soybeans, they want to know exactly which farm produced them, and they want proof that no forest was cleared to grow them. To enforce this, the massive trading companies are deploying military-grade surveillance. Fleets of satellites constantly monitor the agricultural frontiers in South America. If a satellite detects that a patch of forest was illegally cleared on a farm, that farmer is blacklisted. Their soybeans become toxic assets. The global market will refuse to buy them, and ports will refuse to load them. Geography and weather are no longer the only risks. In the 21st century, the environmental footprint of the supply chain is becoming the most rigid choke point of all. As the trucks finally reach the coast, the physical war against mud and asphalt ends. But a new, invisible war begins, the war of global trade. The soybeans are no longer just seeds. They are financial instruments traded in fractions of a cent on screens in Chicago, Geneva, and Singapore. Enter the ABCDs of agriculture: ADM, Bunge, Cargill, and Dreyfus. These four massive trading conglomerates dominate the flow of global agricultural commodities. They don't just buy the grain, they own the silos. They finance the farmers, they operate the crushing plants, and they command the fleets of massive Panamax ships. These aren't your average cargo ships. They are dry bulk carriers, floating steel fortresses designed for one purpose: moving massive volumes of unpacked grain. With single decks, reinforced structures, and massive hydraulic hatches, a single one of these giants can swallow anywhere from 50,000 to over 200,000 tons of soybeans at a time. These companies manage the largest, most delicate ballet on Earth. But this ballet relies on completely exposed geopolitical arteries, also known as maritime choke points. To get from a farm in Mato Grosso to a pig farm in Sichuan, the cargo must navigate a gauntlet of global risks. And this is where the system is breaking down. Look at the Mississippi River, the absolute backbone of American agricultural exports. When severe droughts lower water levels, barges can't move. Suddenly, millions of tons of U.S. soy are trapped. At the exact same time, look at the Panama Canal. Another severe drought forces authorities to drastically cut the number of ships allowed to pass. When the U.S. supply chain chokes, China panics. The algorithm of global trade immediately recalculates. Buyers desperately turn to South America to secure their protein supply, sending prices skyrocketing. This isn't just a weather problem, it's a national security issue. If a nation cannot guarantee its protein supply, it faces domestic unrest, and the superpowers know this. It is easy to look at massive ships and complex supply chains and think this logistical war doesn't affect you. But follow the bean. The price of that soybean dictates the price of the feed. The price of the feed dictates the price of the chicken, the pork, the beef, the eggs, and the cooking oil. When a truck is stuck in the mud in the Brazilian Cerrado, you pay for it. When a drought hits the American Midwest, you pay for it. When geopolitical tensions close a shipping lane, inflation hits your dinner table. The agricultural industry performs a daily miracle, moving mountains of food across oceans and continents against impossible odds. But the system is stretched to its absolute limit. And as the global population continues to grow and the climate becomes more unpredictable, the logistical war of the soybean is far from over. The real question is, who will control the choke points when the next crisis hits? If you want to understand the invisible forces shaping our global economy, hit the subscribe button. Let us know in the comments. Do you think the infrastructure can keep up with the demand, or is a major supply chain collapse inevitable? See you in the next video.